Hello, this is Mary Rachel White. This is Artifact 9. This video will cover Standard 5.1, ISTE Criterion 16, Standard 6.1, ISTE Criterion 19, and Standard 7.1, ISTE Criterion 23. So for my classroom, I have a unique classroom. So I am a co-taught class. So I have another teacher in the classroom who is SPED certified. And so since we are a milestone course, it actually allows me to do different materials, use different materials, and do different lessons within the classroom so I can meet my students' needs. Standard 5.1 Criterion 16 states accommodate learner differences. CBL is one of the essential features of a personalized learning classroom that makes personalized learning effective for increasing academic achievement and reducing achievement gaps. Competency-based learning allows students to advance based on their ability to master a skill at their own pace, regardless of the environment. This is a method tailored to meet different learning abilities and can lead to more efficient student outcomes. Within the math classroom, it requires a lot of building blocks for Algebra 1, so it's crucial that each student masters these concepts with confidence. With that being said, I needed to make sure that I accommodate my learner differences and how they're learning in different ways using a personalized classroom. And with that being said, I looked at Algebra 1's content standards and we went from there. Each day was different for students. Like on day one, students completed a review game called speed dating, where students had to solve radicals by adding, subtracting, and multiplying. Then they completed a quizzes activity on radicals just for us to check for understanding. I used that and I grouped them accordingly based off that quizzes. And then they did a Nearpod reviewing radicals for formative assessment, and then they did binomial mazes. Throughout the whole entire week, students had different ways to show their mastery, and they also had different instruction material where they could use and where they can master the material more efficiently and effectively. Some CBL strategies I use in my classroom was multimodal content delivery, where students had access to Google Classroom and they would use the link in there to do different skills through iExcel, and they could also use Khan Academy and play Blooket games as well. Some other strategies that I incorporated was remedial procedures where students scored below 70, they were required to do small group, and then also for student records, students completed a warm up in the beginning of class to make sure that they were just getting a spiral review of the material. Furthermore, to accommodate learner differences, student-driven projects were incorporated within the algebra classroom, and students were given a choice, which increases motivation, and then teachers and even parents may influence the choice or design of the project, especially for the younger students. Through SDP, students engage in authentic and culturally responsive learning opportunities that are meaningful and relevant to their lives. SDP strategies that I've incorporated in my classroom for the project was students were working with partners collaboratively, and they were also using their knowledge and helping their partners along the way. Standard 6.1 Criterion 19 states facilitate and guide learning as students take ownership of their learning goals. Personalized learning is very essential in today's classroom. With that being said, students build the knowledge and skills that will help them thrive in today's society. Each student has a different learning style and has different needs that are different from their peers. As a teacher, I want to make sure that my students are motivated in what they learn and have a voice in their learning. Furthermore, personalized learning is needed because every child will have a chance to engage with their education and ultimately their future. It's important that students and teachers set learning goals to create customized learning paths so that the student decides on how they'll demonstrate how they completed their goals and how they prove mastery of a standard. Every student is different and learn at different rates, so it's important teachers like myself customize our teaching methods to meet each student's needs. In my classroom, having a personalized learning plan will allow students to advocate for themselves when it comes to their learning. Since I teach math, students will set goals for themselves and tell me the different ways they prefer to learn. The student will discuss their strengths, abilities, and skills. We'll also discuss different ways they like to learn and what they struggle with when it comes to learning different skills in math. To support my students within the classroom, I love making anchor charts, and my students also love making anchor charts. So I did some of our parts of an expression, multiplying polynomials, and two-step equations. This Google form provides evidence of how my students take ownership of their learning goals and monitor their progress throughout their learning. Within, when they're doing their project, students can utilize Google Classroom and monitor their progress and provide feedback to students. Also, provide opportunities for students to meet with me to ensure they are meeting their goals and discuss remediation or alternative assignments as needed. Standard 7.1 Criterion 23 states provide alternative ways for students to show competency. Through competency-based learning, I provided different ways where my students can show mastery. For formative assessments, I did informal assessment, which was, quick data through quizzes. Students will take an online quiz and I could actually see where they're at. Students had to receive a 70 or higher. With that being said, if they score lower than the 70, they would have to have remediation or have one-on-one time with the teacher just to make sure that we can meet those needs. Also, there was alternative assessments where students are given a rubric based on the learning targets. Students have to receive a 70 or better so that they can move on to the next activity. Different ways students can demonstrate mastery was students can make a video of themselves using Flipgrid or YouTube, coaching other students. Students could also make an anchor chart with examples or problems that are fully worked with explanations to it. Vocab words are also written to the side, or students create a PowerPoint with examples on it and teach it in a small group setting. Like for the comic book project, students could either create the comic book by hand using any materials they gather, they can still publish it by a PDF by taking a scan of it, or they could create an online comic book using a platform such as Google Slides, Glocks, or Canva. Or if they found a reliable online platform not listed, they're more than welcome to use it as long as it gets approved. Or students make videos of themselves acting it out using like Flipgrid, YouTube, or TikTok. Piggybacking off the comic book project, when students shared it, they presented their final project to their classmates as well as other teachers. Also, it was in the students' hands how they wanted to present their product. The main focus was that their comic book will teach others about algebraic reasoning and mathematical modeling. They also involved the community as well, doing a school-wide math Comic-Con, which was pretty neat. It was important for me as a teacher to incorporate technology tools to make my classroom setting more personalized for every student so that their needs were met. I use Basecamp, Google Slides, Google Docs, Flipgrid quizzes, Nearpod, iExcel, Google Classroom, Canva, Khan Academy, and Padlet, just to name a few. My students love using these and it meets their needs. They also can do goal setting, they can monitor the progress and their learning targets, they can also collab with each other. So, all in all, having a PL classroom has definitely improved my students' learning abilities and it made them very successful inside and outside of the classroom.